right, so Rob, we are so delighted and we were very honoured when you agreed that you would be on the panel for the top diverse board ready directors list for 2021. What made you do it?
Well, I've been aware for some time that out there's enormous amount of talent that's been knocking on the door for getting into boards, and we haven't been listening to the knocks on the door. So having the opportunity through this idea to say, oh, there might be someone at the door, let's open it and see who's there, has been great, hasn't it? So what an opportunity. I feel privileged to have had the opportunity, mate.
Well, wonderful. So tell me, were there people knocking on the door that you were excited to open the door to?
Yeah, look, I did know some of the people on the list and, welcome them into this process, but the vast majority were people I had never heard of, but you just know they're there. Given an opportunity, they will express themselves. Even people who haven't, haven't made this list, there's some very talented and aspirational people there who will make a contribution at governance level. But yeah, I only knew a few of them, but I feel like I know them now. You get to know people as you think and talk about them and look at what they've got to say and discuss them as we did. It's really impressive, and it makes you feel a lot better about how New Zealand business and other organisations is going to be governed going forward.
Excellent. So how do you feel that these board ready directors that are diverse, that are now on the list, how do they differ from the status quo batch of directors that you and I know well?
Well, can I start with what's the same? They're equally skilled. What's different is that they have different life experiences. It's not really about the label on them, whatever that might be, but they have different life experiences and can contribute because of that. And the life experiences they have will resonate with employees, will resonate with customers, suppliers, in a way that the old form of director at the end of a career from basically the privileged group in our society just can't do and haven't done. So it's great.
Excellent. So talk to me about the invisible qualities of these diverse board ready directors, because a lot of people have said, oh, well, aren't you just putting them on the list because, they're women or they're ethnic or they're...
No, look, it was more a spark that showed in the list, where as you read the applications, they were all strikingly different in the way they thought about what governance was, what they thought about what they could bring. The clear hesitancy many of them had to overcome. None of them thought this was theirs as of right. And because of that, they're going to be better directors. The people who think, oh, I'm retiring, oh, I know what I do now, I'm going to go on a board. These people are quite different. They're mainly younger. As I say, they've had a different life experience. They just conceive of the thing in a different way. They actually want to contribute. So that's just a different group altogether, and it shines through in their applications.
So tell me...
can I make one point about them? A lot of these people, I won't say all of them, but a lot of them are still going to be square pegs and round holes when they get on a board. That there is still not going to be easy for them or easy for the board they go on to adapt to the fact that these people are different, but everyone will benefit from it.
So I want to pick up that theme because it's an important theme. Standing out, fitting in. You are an experienced chair, so you've just talked to the journey that they will have for the right board when they get on it. Talk to me about how we ensure that these diverse board ready directors really do contribute to the boards that they're on.
I've been thinking about that, and I wonder whether one of the next things Super Diversity Council has to do is offer some education to established chairs about how to deal with diverse directors coming on their boards. Because one thing to say, oh, there are all these people, and by the way, here's what they bring. I'm very positive about that. And look, there's many more out there. This is just a subgroup of what's out there, isn't it? Not being disrespectful to these people, but it is, and they know they are. The issue will be, how do chairs learn to deal with diversity rather than sameness? And that's not easy. I've had some experience of it, and even with an intent to do it well, I've had to learn a lot, and I'm still learning a lot. I'm still learning a lot about how to work with Māori directors on my boards. I'm still probably not that good in making the space that many female directors need. I've had some experience with having to create the space for Pasifika and people of various Asian ethnicities on boards. And it's not just a matter of putting them on the production line and expecting the same output. So I think there probably is, we always tend to look down when we think about education. How do we educate those people to be able to do this thing? I think there's a space that we're going to have to confront, which is, how do we educate the people currently in the leadership positions to accommodate this kind of talent?
I just think you're absolutely on the money. I think that is such an important issue, because it's all about the definition of talent, really. It's about the definition also of contribution. And I think that the expectation often from chairs is, oh, you're not making the same output. So actually, therefore, your output is not valued. Sorry, you can please.
No, look, I absolutely, and it's a genuine feeling that you have. I mean, Venna won't mind me talking about this, but when Venna came on to he's one of our fellow judges, I think is the word we use. I hate, but anyway,
he's on the panel.
It's all right for a lawyer to aspire to be a judge, but I did. But when Venna came onto the Somerset board, he came on with a reputation from people I knew and respected, and I was told he will be a bit disruptive. And, for quite a few meetings, for quite a few months, I found it hard to see quite how to utilize his talents to create the space within which he could make his best contribution. Now, he's a hugely talented man, and gradually you find a way, but you have to work at it. And by the way, Venna was working very hard to work out how he could contribute into the culture we had at that board, which was generally a good culture, but it was a change. And, that I'm just aware from that experience alone that a willing board, a hugely talented, diverse director, it doesn't just happen automatically.
Sure.
The magic that you get from this diversity doesn't just happen automatically, but it does.
Yeah, but I love that. I love that. So talk to me about the working harder, because I think most people think, oh, well, gee, this is hard work. We could just get somebody else who's less hard work. We could get somebody else who's just like us.
Yep, you could. And that is more comfortable. But, being uncomfortable is really the thing that is the genesis of change. So if you're totally happy with your board, if you're totally happy with your company, if you're totally happy with the way things are, you probably don't do this, mate. But most businesses, most organisations know that we have challenges that we need to face that require some different ways of thinking. And so once you start on that journey, I think you pretty quickly get to the conclusion one of the things you need to do is to jumble up and make your board process more difficult. Because there's a purpose to it.
Yeah, I love it. Yep, that's right. As they say, in life, which is not a diving competition, there are no extra points for difficulty. But if there is a purpose for it, I think what we need to do, though, is, I think particularly with the top diverse list, we need to explain that there is a purpose. These people won't naturally fit in easily to your board. However, there is a purpose to trying harder to utilize, I love that word, to utilize their contribution. So tell me about the future of governance, because sometimes when you look at the future of governance, it looks a whole lot like the status quo.
Well, look, I think if we don't disrupt it, that's exactly how it looks. So that's one option. One of the things that can happen from here is that we just continue to fill our board tables with the same kinds of people, and we will get something like the same kind of results. So that's one option. It's not the one I favour, and I think it's not the one that anyone really seriously favours if they think about their business. So cultural diversity, gender diversity, all the other kinds of diversity, which increasingly characterise our society, should be reflected at any board table that's thinking seriously about its relationship with what happens outside the boardroom. So I think that the most likely scenario is that if you come back in 20 years when I'm well gone, you will find that board tables look and sound different. And, I think they probably won't even be sitting around the same kind of tables, isolated off in a corner of the empire of the business where nobody really knows what they're doing. I think they'll be much more open and transparent, much more diverse, much less predictable. For example, we place a huge emphasis on unanimity at board tables currently, on the club thinking that we all get to the same position. We're very reluctant to end up with a position where some of our directors just don't agree with what it is we're proposing to do. And we need to get a bit comfortable with that idea. Oh, actually, I don't much like that. I thought we should have done this, that, or the next thing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a perfectly normal human thing to be happening. And sooner or later, someone will say, I recall your position on that, and you were right, because that was a muck-up. So this idea of groupthink is deeply embedded in governance, and I think we need to break up groupthink. Okay. This is one aspect of it.
Well, so tell me, for those who are on the diverse BoardReady director list, how did they ensure that their talents and views and contributions can be utilised? Can you give them some advice?
Look, I'm probably exactly the wrong person to give them advice because I'm from that old club.
No, you're just the right person because you're usually in the chair position.
Well, that's helpful. And they, as I say, chairs do need to help with this. You should not plonk a diverse ready director at the end of the table and think you've done your job because it'll look okay in the annual report. You've got to be prepared to work harder than that, or it's a waste of time. And it's also unfair on this person. So I would say, I would talk first to the chairs and say, chairs, the reasons you're doing this are great. The person you have identified is great, but you are both going to have to work at it. And I don't just mean mentoring, you've got to work with every director, but you've got to be prepared to do things differently, or why bring someone different on? Makes no sense. You might as well have got one of the old clones to fill in. So that's the first person I'd talk to. But to the people taking on this challenge, it's just got to be yourself. Absolutely be yourself, be all you are. Don't try to be like the others. Don't try to please them. Try to challenge them. Yes, be polite, be conciliatory and all those things. But part of the problem with minorities is they're too polite, too accommodative, because that has been the only way they can see that they can progress, to be more like the majority culture. Now, the thing I liked about this list of people is they're all prepared and confident about the culture, about what they bring. So they've just got to, there'll be some knocks, there'll be some things that are hard to fit into, but just continue to be confident about yourself. There's a reason you're on this list, and it's a good reason, and it's about your qualities.
So tell me, was there anything about the applications that came in that surprised you, that you weren't expecting?
They were a bit younger than I thought they might be. And I think that's a good thing. And some people who haven't made this list will be on they're not on this list in the future, they'll get roles anyway because they're very, very talented and aspirational. So that was one. I thought I was a bit surprised by how sophisticated their understanding was of why they were doing this. And they had all tried. This was not something they applied for after thinking, oh, I'd quite like to be a director. These were all people who had tried and had had a lot of knockbacks. So they were not walking up fresh or innocent or anything like that. I thought they might be more in that way, but they're not. They're pretty hardened, actually, aren't they?
They are. And
tempered is a better word than hardened.
Well, I think what I like is that we have opened a new superhighway, really, to get to the board table. And I think that many people will say what you've said, which is, wow, okay, never heard of half of these people. Where did you find them?
And the thing is, mate, there are hundreds, probably thousands more, just like these people. I'm not being at all negative about the ones who are on this list. It's very much a quick sub-list in many ways of a wide range of talent that we haven't been accessing. So people ought to look at this list and not say, oh, there's a few pretty talented people. They should say, there is the tip of an iceberg that I haven't been looking at.
Great. Excellent. Rob, I just want to thank you so much for your time. It's always the way, busy people. You didn't have the time to do this. The fact that you've given your credibility to this has helped. And I'm enormously excited about your own governance journey and your own recent appointment to Health New Zealand. And we wish you very well for the next part of your governance journey, which is all about making a huge contribution to New Zealand Inc.
Yeah, onwards, Mai. Thank you for your contribution to this too.